Greeting everybody. This is Josh, and you've come into A Round. So we are a community of decision makers from software startups that have either raised or are striving to raise their Series A, or are sufficiently bootstrapped. I don't want to do anything that might leave me out from any of the things that I've done. So this is an event by Launch's Work, and it's trying to go and help everybody build this community of leaders at the startups and people that can assist in that messy time of the company's life when they are going towards that Series A, have reached that Series A, and really haven't put all of the things in place, all of the systems in place that a mature company would. So in this situation, this is an actionable intelligence session. So what we're doing for these is we're bringing in an expert that's going to have 15 minutes to present, 10 minutes to discuss, one actionable takeaway. So that means whatever we're talking about, you're able to go and take back to the office with you and implement on your own. So let me, now what we're going to do is just going to go around and have everybody have a chance to introduce themselves, and just make it super quick. So it's your name, your role, the company that you're working for, and what you are looking for, right? Somebody out here in the group hears it, somebody out on any of the stream hears it, and away we go. So for example, I am Josh Rosenthal. I'm the community manager here at A Round, and I'm looking for leaders to go and help any of the startups here. All right, that would be an intro. I could also say I'm Josh Rosenthal. I'm the founder of Replexus, and that is a consultancy that helps companies build in their product-led growth that leads to their sales-led growth, that leads to their customer success-led growth. So what I want to do is I want to give each person a chance to introduce themselves. Alan, I think that you were the next in. If you're here, can jump on and want to go and turn that camera on and introduce yourself.
Yeah, is my camera on? Sorry,
It's driving. Not. Yeah. Be careful, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're no good to us, Dad.
What's that?
Just making the joke that you're no good to us, Dad. A little Star Wars thing. Go on.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm Alan, CEO of Randow.net. We're a blockchain services company servicing blockchains that don't have access to randomness, which is most blockchains. And specifically, kind of our current state of things, we are actively entering terms with a seed investor, and we previously raised an angel round. And yeah, so we're in that stage of needing to grow and scale and do things well. We have an upcoming A round session in December, which Josh invited me to.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, in fact, let me just jump in real quick. Alan is going to be one of our inaugural people at what we're calling a solve session, where each company is going to come forward, be a little bit open and authentic in a issue that they're having, a goal that they're trying to reach, and then putting it out to the world to come up with creative ways to go and solve that. So let's try to keep on schedule somewhat. I just want to introduce Christine. Name, role, company, what you're looking for.
Hi, good morning, Christine Carrig. I'm head of marketing, demand gen, build out SaaS companies, looking for my next SaaS company to help build out their marketing programs and be inspired by other startup folks. So thank you.
Excellent. And so what I want to do for you, Eric, is I want to give you 2 bites of the apple. First, have you go through this, and next go and I'll make a little introduction and kick it right back to you. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
What you're looking for.
So thanks for having me. I'm Eric Postow. I'm the managing partner and chief strategy officer for a law firm called Hold On Law Partners. We are a virtual law firm operating in over 20 different jurisdictions and internationally. I have co-chaired our AI and emerging tech practice area for the last couple of years. And I serve as a general counsel for a company called Hypercycle, which is ushering in the internet of AI based on a blockchain kind of starting point. I've advised startups in a number of underregulated industries where you have to really look state by state for the patchworks, and I've done a lot of compliance work and things like that. So, my goals really are to continue to develop global relationships in this very quickly evolving AI and technology space, and to provide rudder steers and guidance heading into the storm rather than getting swept away by the storm. So I'm happy to talk more about that, but that's who I am.
Excellent. So now let me just introduce you. I think everybody deserves an introduction. So you already said who you are, and you're going to go and talk to us today about how AI law isn't new law, it's case law. So I think this is, as I was saying earlier when we were just talking a moment before, I think this is very relevant to everybody who uses AI in their software. Especially anyone that uses AI for the delivery of your software, because here you are going and creating output faster, but is your organization able to go and consume this faster? And what are the legal implications of going and using AI in any part of your process? And obviously, I think the part that you're going to touch on a bit mainly is the functioning of AI as part of your product rather than the development of your product. So let me zip it, kick it on over to you, and take it away.
Yeah. So, I thought a lot about this discussion and kind of how to approach it. And I think that there's, a lot of different kinds of understandings about AI. And I like to think things simply as, what is AI really? It's the convergence of all things. So when you think about what does AI touch, you have to look at that component of it. AI and the person, AI and the technology, AI and the process or the system. And it's one of those areas where move fast and break things is absolutely encouraged in our federal policy right now under the current administration. Yet we have an equally rapidly evolving state regulatory framework that's popping up in various state by state, kind of a patchwork concept. And so, where I like to kind of start is a very holistic picture. I want to understand global policies. I want to understand, where is the technology going? What is it doing? Who is it touching? How is it touching them? What are their rights? What are their rights affected? So whether you are an AI business or an AI entrepreneur, or you're implementing or integrating AI into your software, you've really got to think about, what is this thing fundamentally doing and how is it touching? And I'm going to give you guys the kind of the takeaway now, because it's really about mindset. And this is beyond just AI. This is about how to operate in underregulated market spaces, where your technology could be more advanced than the rules and regulations that could box it in, contain it, set up guardrails, things like that. And the reality is, there's already a law for it. So you've got to have this mindset. One, you got to start with the human. Okay. One thing that we're seeing in this advancement of the AI space is that it is, in some sense, freeing humans to be more human, replacing those redundancies, those systems, those processes that can be turned over to an algorithm or an AI output, or a program, or a robotic, or whatever. So we really want to have the mindset of, we're starting with the human, okay? And when we're starting with the human, we're thinking about, who is this person? How is this person relating to my technology? What's happening to them vis-a-vis this technology that's coming into the workplace, into the workforce, or in their home, or in their car? And when we put them at the center of this thing, then we can move into step number 2, mapping our foreseeable harms. One of the regulatory frameworks that we're starting to observe more of is a duty of care that is emerging in states like Colorado, And this duty of care is for developers and commercializers of these new technologies built around AI. What is duty of care? Well, that is the responsibility and the accountability that people who are making use of these new technologies owe to the rest of us, to the rest of society. It has long case law and torts and product liability. And when you are contemplating, what could go wrong, even if there's no rules or regs that you think there are, you've got to be able to map out those foreseeable harms. What is it that's foreseeable? And when we talk about foreseeability, it's a reasonably prudent person's reasonable foreseeability. If you're getting into the nuts and bolts of your technology and you are starting to become aware that at a certain point in time, decisions are getting made by that AI that are causing certain negative consequences, and this is in your beta testing and all that stuff, you now understand that if I scaled that, it could have a larger set of consequences. So it's reasonably foreseeable that this negative thing could happen. And then I have a duty of care to mitigate against that. Okay, so we're going to see a lot more laws coming on the books across the states that advance duties of care for these advanced technologies. 3, test like a regulator. Okay, when you're putting your technologies together, you've got this great idea, these great concepts. You're building out your coding. You're taking it to that next level. You're getting it ready to showcase and to test in various markets and things like that. You really want to take the devil's advocate role of what would a regulator do with this? How would they see this thing? And when you're in a situation where you're like, I don't know which regulator is to put myself in the shoes of, go back to number 1 and start with the human. Start with the foreseeability of something going wrong. What could go wrong? Is it something from the data? Is there some bias potentially in that data? There's a number of interesting tools that I have had a chance to review and provide some feedback on, having to do with talent development, talent management. And they're wonderful tools that can make recruiting at scale much more efficient and effective. However, some of the data that it's built upon has a lot of bias and discriminatory hiring practices built into it. And so you want to observe where these types of risks based on old data, old bias, old discriminatory practices, you've got to observe it inside your new technology so that you don't exacerbate a problem like that. There are new technologies that help in the interviewing process, videos and working with AIs, and then the AI decision making that's going on with evaluation of that talent. Well, that can become quite problematic as well, especially if we are not accounting for Americans with Disabilities Act. Perhaps we have speech impediments, and your technology has a lot to do with how clearly articulate somebody is. And so you end up with the potential for a discriminatory thing on a protected class that was foreseeable. And if I go back to that duty of care, I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm mitigating against those types of risks. So test like a regulator. Don't just think it's all right just because it does an amazing thing, which it does. Make sure that you are thinking about it from the perspective of how is this potentially harming the community, and what's my obligation to them. Keep the human in the loop is my next point. So just kind of recapping, we've got to start with the human, map your foreseeable harms, test like a regulator, and keep a human in the loop. When the technology starts to make the decisions that people would make, this, I think, is becoming more and more of a risk area across the board. And again, it really is how much of these technologies are you using? How much are you integrating AI and things like that? So relative to your use, you should analyze this. But where there are critical decisions, you want to make sure that there is a human being in there who can make certain decisions, who can apply that human-centric mind, that emotional intelligence, corporate intelligence, things like that, where judgment and discernment are still important for someone, a person, to be a part of that thing. Otherwise, the efficiencies of the technologies and the decision-making capabilities of those technologies might start making decisions that are more efficient, but not necessarily safe or prudent or responsible. And so you want to keep a human in the loop. And then the last thing that part of this mindset that I think that all entrepreneurs in these emerging tech spaces should keep is document your decisions. If you have an intentional process, if you're being really thoughtful, if you are understanding your duty of care, your obligations, your responsibilities to the community at large, you're going through, you're testing, you're looking at your data, you're screening for bias, you're looking at the outputs, you're accounting for potential for harm, document all of that. That's going to be your best defense downstream. If something were to go wrong, it will show that you have a methodology of intentional decision-making, that you were thinking about the potential for risk and you were mitigating against it, and still things can go wrong. And so I think that as a takeaway, you don't need a lawyer to help you to come up with this. This is just a mental process that I think all executives or entrepreneurs or small business owners that are in this space should have within themselves. Start with the human, map those foreseeable harms, test like a regulator, keep the human in the loop where it's important, and document all of those decisions so that you end up with a product that you can feel sure will not just get to the market, but will stay in the market. Because, and this is where the case law really is important, if you don't do these things and your technology causes harm, not only will you be pulled from shelves, you will face litigation, potentially enforcement, whether it's the FCC or the SEC or some other federal agency that's providing oversight on certain things, or even the state level agencies. And I think that that mindset is really quite critical. And if you do it yourself, by the time you are talking to legal counsel, you're gonna make their job even more easier, because people on my side, we want to work with someone who gets it, who understands what the big picture is, and is working towards making sure that this product is stable out in the marketplace from a regulatory compliance perspective, and from a harms reduction perspective. And so I think that that's just a really great thing. I have a few minutes of just kind of a discussion, just things that I've really been thinking about. Start with the following idea. Everything we're talking about, no matter how advanced it is going to be obsolete someday. Isn't that interesting? We are along a continuum progression of technology, and we've been on that for the last 2,000 years, and probably even longer than that in some capacities. And if we have this understanding that technologies will become obsolete someday, why is it becoming obsolete? What about it becomes obsolete? What replaces the things? I think that a future-oriented technology doesn't just solve the problem that's available right now that we can see. It starts to think about sustainability over the long period of time, over the next 10, 20 years. It starts to think about, what is the rest of the world doing? How is it moving forward? What are the great problems out there that technology can help solve? If we take it, a concept of employment, AI really can replace a lot of the workforce. All right, let's acknowledge that point. So what should we do? Just race ahead and replace all of the workforce with AI and robotics? Probably not. We probably should think about an integrative approach and start to think about the rest of a human's potential beyond that. What does, if I replace the redundancies, if I remove the things about the technology, or remove the things from what people do in their job that the technology really is better for, what have I created? I've created a space for creativity, for imagination, for collaboration, for human-centric ingenuity. And that is something that I think that technologists across the board really should try to embrace. Be a part of the next wave of human ingenuity, where people are able to solve amazing problems, and that the technology that's being built is in line with solving problems and making life better for people, rather than just, it does this thing, we can make a whole bunch of money, but it's going to cause 20% reduction in workforce. That don't end at that. Okay, great. It's going to make money. It's going to make things more efficient. What else? Be a part of the solution of the problem that gets created by the solution, right? Kind of a few other points that I think are just important to observe. It's not that the federal government right now has no interest in AI regulation. They have a lot of interest in it. They have an interest in that strategic categories: national security and defense, privacy, HIPAA, and critical infrastructures and things like that. So I think that technologies and people behind the technologies that are thinking about the categories like that, what are those really geostrategic areas versus where are the business and people-centric areas? Your people and business-centric areas are going to be regulated by your states. This is where your employment law, this is where discrimination, this is where, to a large extent, intellectual property and copyright and all of those things, though they're federal, you're going to see a lot more of that at the state level. Where does your technology touch people and potentially harm them? That's where the state is. The bigger picture is, how are we going to reimagine our critical infrastructure with a reality check of we don't have any more power, right? We don't have any more power than what we've got on the grid right now. So what does that mean? You got to have an entirely new source of power. You got to have more efficient technologies, higher compute, lower energy, all of these things. And I think just having that contextual awareness, even if your technology or your product or whatever is not in that vein, have a holistic mind. Have a mind that understands where you fit into the entirety of the ecosystem, rather than just a linear thought. This new technology and the way things are changing in the world, from federal government, from how AI is being implemented across the agencies, how the laws are coming out right now, it's very non-linear. And so I think that the approach of an entrepreneur should mirror that to some extent. And then lastly, think about the C-suite. Think about the people in the decision-making tree of a business. Most of them have no clue what any of this technology is capable of doing. Most of them don't understand how to implement it. You're seeing quite a diverse approach from C-suites across the country, and how are they implementing it, from full scale down to very surgical implementation. The community of entrepreneurs that have all of this great technology, think about the perspective of the C-suite that really doesn't understand it like you do, and get to their level. Help them understand how this thing is going to make that business more competitive, or survive, or what have you. So I think I'll kind of yield back some time for any discussion points that that you'd like to get into, but hopefully that was decent enough presentation.
I think it was. And now let's go and bring in for some of the conversations that we have here. So, Alan, if you're able to join us safely, go and put on that camera, and because I think that a lot of this is relevant to you and what you are bringing to market. Alan, you have an amount of care that you are due for the idea that you are generating randomness on behalf as a service, right? Yours is randomness as a service, and therefore, if there is issues that come up with your randomness not being random enough, or any type of bug, you have a duty of care there. I mean, are these things that I know yours from the outside, you know yours from the inside. Are there other things that you're thinking that might be relevant here?
Yeah, so what this brings to mind, I mean, our whole product is we solve the randomness issue and we make sure everything's random. That's like 100% our ballpark, and we want to make sure we 100% handle that. And that's what we're doing as a company, in essence. On a different topic, there is a question of, what are the use cases of random that downstream, like let's say another company makes a casino based on our randomness. Right now we're an open protocol. Anyone can use us. Anyone can be our client. And a casino would have a potential use for our randomness. Now there's a question of, okay, has that casino gone through the proper procedures to, take care of their clients and not absolutely ruin them financially? And this brings to mind, who do we want to service? Right now we'll service anyone because it's an open API credit-based model. And there's a question of, how would we even implement such a thing? Because we're a decentralized protocol, which is in essence saying we provide randomness and we don't, it's up to you what you want to use randomness for. And our current stance has been, if you wanted to use it for a casino, that's your ballpark. We're not liable for that, but we are just providing random numbers. That's all we do. But there is a good question to be brought up there. Should we determine who our clients are allowed to be, what services they are allowed to offer? And yeah, that's kind of what it brought to mind for me.
Yeah, without stepping into the role of your attorney, which I'm sure you have, in a general sense, I think that this kind of gets at the heart of the duties of care downstream. And there's the developer, and then there's the commercializer. There's the user and the implementer. And where does the handoff occur? If you've developed certain things, protocols, technologies, algorithms, randomness, and in a general sense, it doesn't harm anything. But then someone takes that and implements it into something that does harm people. What responsibility did you have, and how can you potentially protect yourself? Well, your contracts, your licensing agreements. I know you've said open source and decentralized, and to a large extent, that kind of comes with the territory of someone could do something harmful. I'm just making the technology available, and what's my responsibility? Well, I do think that there still is a responsibility, and I think that you can put it into your protocols, and I think you can put it into your the legalese of your contracts to some extent to mitigate that, to put responsibility on the users. Indemnifications can also be quite a useful thing in some of these instances. So definitely a lot to think about. And, consider maybe there's a world of like things that you really wouldn't want your technology in. You really wouldn't want it to be used in, and you already know that those are things. Well, you might make some statements about things that you know it shouldn't be used for. And I don't know what those are, but I bet you'd have a better idea of what they might be.
Yeah, I think casinos is definitely the one with the largest threat of potential, that's we do want to be indemnified from that. And it gets a little bit more complex as we are in a blockchain, decentralized, a smart contract ecosystem. So we don't have traditional, signing agreements. with.
That's right. But you have usage and licensing, and there's ways, and again, you'll want to talk to your counsel about this. There's ways to embed all of that stuff in there to the maximum extent possible while maintaining its flexibility as a decentralized system.
Yeah, real quick, I do want to say that this does end the LinkedIn Live portion, all of the other streaming. So what I want to do now is simply thank everybody that's been on this stream. Thank you all for being here. And everybody that's here in the meeting, please stay. But at this point, this ends our stream. So please stay. Everybody else, thank you very much for being here on another edition of A-Round. This is a group for leaders at startup companies that have reached or are striving for their Series A. Each week we bring on an interesting presenter, or at least have an interesting topic. This coming week, we're going to go and start transitioning to a new format called the Solve Session, where companies are going to come in, reveal a goal or issue, and then have a much more interactive session where everyone's able to go and ask questions, suggest solutions, suggest partnerships, etc. I think all of the presenters that we've had, all of the participants we've had, this would be highly relevant to everyone there. So please come in next week. And the streams are always available online on LinkedIn, YouTube, and now we're also cross-posting to Reddit. So thank you, everybody. On the outside, everybody else, stick around.